Hey there, MRA, my Real Africanists. This is Marie Ya Jouf, the Real Africanist, and welcome to my channel. If you have been here before, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time here, I welcome you with open arms. On this channel, I talk about African history, I talk about the field of African studies, and I also talk about current African affairs. So, I just wanted to hop on here for a second and talk about an article that I ran across on the internet about a couple days ago, right? And so in the article, it was talking about the Ethiopian government was recruiting Ethiopian women for domestic work in Saudi Arabia, right? And according to the article, it was saying that the Ethiopian government was sponsoring this recruitment. They were sponsoring the transportation for the Ethiopian women to get to Saudi Arabia, and they also were providing some type of security or providing some overseeing of the whole program of the women going to Saudi Arabia. And apparently they believe that by them providing the transportation and putting in place security measures, right, to make sure that the women are treated fairly and compensated properly, that this would prevent women from risking their lives and going to this part of the world, the Middle East, illegally or by more dangerous channels, right? However, I am just totally against that. I don't understand why the Ethiopian government would sponsor something like that or would even make efforts to recruit Ethiopian women for these domestic positions, right? I remember just a few months ago, I think it was the end of last year, there was this big issue and this big story about Ethiopian women, or not just Ethiopian women, but other African women who were voicing their complaints and concerns about their time in these Middle Eastern countries, right, as domestic workers, how they were being treated unfairly, how they were being sometimes sexually exploited, not being compensated properly, made to work just long and strenuous hours, right, and being treated less than human. Okay, now I know that this is not, I guess that this is not the situation probably for every woman, but with those type of allegations being waged against people in Saudi Arabia, and not just one or two of these allegations, right? These allegations are frequent, and they are there are many of them, right? So this is not abnormal. This is the norm where you hear about these type of allegations, right? So why would an African government sponsor this type of program, knowing that African women are being abused and mistreated? I am just totally against that. And I think that Ethiopian citizens really need to push back against that, right? They need to petition their government to not support these type of programs or these type of initiatives. Okay, now, like, I don't know, who in the Ethiopian government or what Ethiopian government is sponsoring this. I don't know if it's a regional thing, or where it is happening in Ethiopia, right? And I know that Ethiopia has enough going on right now, and this is just another issue to add to that. However, I just think it's a grave mistake and a big error to do this, right? But from what I understand, some women have already been recruited and have already been taken to Saudi Arabia. Now, again, from what I understand, I can't quote who actually said it, but it was said that one of the government officials stated that it would be a benefit to the women because they would be able, to send remittance back to their family members, which would also in turn help the economy of Ethiopia, because the economy has suffered due to COVID and due to, the world inflation. And also that by the government providing transportation and providing security measures, that that would be a safer way for these women to travel, and also it would guarantee their security. But I don't go for that, and I don't think that that line of reasoning is justifiable or accurate, to override the possibility of these women being exploited and misused, right? And last but not least, aren't we tired of African people or black people of being somebody's doggone servant, right? Why is it that we feel like that we have to, serve other people? If there's going to be a program or initiative like that, wouldn't it be better if women were being sent to learn some different skills, building skills, technology skills, manufacturing skills, something of that sort? But why is it that black people are always expected to serve some doggone body, right? We are not servants. We weren't born to just serve people. And I don't mean like serve from your heart or serve your community or serve for the betterment of people. I'm talking about serve people for, so that they can get on and with doing what they are doing, building better lives for themselves, for their communities, for their country, while we're serving them, right? And nobody is serving us. And while we are being mistreated and again looked at as somebody that is subservient to these people, because we are always in the servant position. Now, I really think that is something that the Ethiopian government and most African governments really need to take a look at. If we are always in a servant position, then people will always think of us as servants. And then we have no time to dedicate to doing what we really need to do to build up our countries and to build up our communities, right? And to serve our own people. So, again, I just wanted to say that, right? I wanted to hop on here and say that because I was reading that article. And again, it really disturbs me. And I do understand, believe me, that sometimes, there's just not the opportunities that people need in different African countries. But that's why we need to concentrate more on gaining skills that will allow us to create the opportunities that we need, right? It's not always about, like I say, going to other countries and being servants to them so that they can build their countries up, right? And a lot of times, especially if once people get there and they get comfortable being there, then a lot of times they end up staying there. So you say that you're gaining by them going there, but then you're actually losing, because a lot of times they end up staying there and then they contributing to those societies instead of to African societies, right? And then also, like I said, I have heard women, African women, talk about their time in these Middle Eastern countries. And some of them say that they would rather be dirt poor, right, than go back to these countries, because their experiences in these Middle Eastern and Arab countries have been like hell. You know, it seems like we are so easy to forget our history and what has happened to African people at the hands of other people, and Arabs included, right? We cannot forget there was an Arab Islamic slave trade. And for some reason, that's rarely ever mentioned. They talk about the transatlantic slave trade all the time, but then that slave trade, which was more horrendous and is still going on in some of these Arab and Islamic nations, are never really talked about. And these are our people, African people. And if we don't care about our people, if our own people do not trump our religious affiliation, then what does it matter? You know, even in these scriptures that our people love to quote, right? We're so religious, but even in the Christian scripture, Jesus said, how can you love God that you've never seen, but you don't even love your brother, right? Who's right next door to you, who you look at every day, right? It didn't go exactly like that, but that was the gist of it. So, I mean, we really, as African people, really have to start respecting ourselves more, right? And looking at ourselves as people that are important, right? We are important to the world. We have always been, and we will always be. And so until we start looking at ourselves as people in position of power, like I say, we will continue to settle for these situations that we feel, you know, are good enough, but really they are continuing to paint us as people who are inferior to people who believe that they are superior. And we really need to look at that, and our government officials really need to look at that, right? So that's all I have for today. Again, this is Marie Ya Jouf, the Real Africanist. You can catch me here on YouTube, or you can catch me at my blog, which I have to admit I've really been kind of neglecting lately, but you can catch me at my blog at therealafricanist.com, right? There's some really great things on the blog, and so if you haven't been there before, you can learn a little bit more about me, and you can also learn again about African history and current African affairs, right? So I will see you later. I hope you have a great day. Remember to fight the power. Also remember, there's always more to the story, so you always have to go deeper. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Peace and fight the power.